Hi you guys, it's Linnea. Today I'm going to be creating a simple card using some LDRS Creative new and old products. So to start off with, I have the Jammin stamp set, and this is one of their new stamp sets from the Spring 2020 collection. I have some cute little images already stamped out. One of the things I like to do when I'm stamping images from a stamp set is to stamp a bunch of them. So usually I have panels cut down to A2 sized. I'll fill up that panel and stamp it using a stamp positioner, and then I will stamp it again and keep those images in the back of my stamp pocket, so next time I want to color, I already have some images stamped. So these images have already been stamped out with the LDRS Creative Raven Hybrid ink, and I had them in the back of my stamp pocket, so now I'm just going to color up the images that I want to add to my card. I'm using alcohol markers today. Really simple color blending like I usually do. Two markers rather for each color. So I usually use a medium and a light, or a dark and a light, or a dark and a medium, just two different colors to create depth and shadows. I'm going to be using the little fox, the little moose. I'll color up the loaf of bread, but I don't end up using that. What I'll end up using is just the little jars of peanut butter and jelly, and then I think the knife with the peanut butter on it I will use. But I'll color most of these images on this sheet since I have my images out and my markers out, and then I'll cut them out and I can keep them in my stamp pocket already colored so I can create cards later on. So here are my images colored. I have the coordinating Jammin dies. I'm just going to line those dies up with the colored images, and then I'll use a little bit of masking tape to tape them down. And now I have a whole bunch of little images colored and cut and ready to go. So let's start working on the rest of the card. This is the scalloped circle die set. And in this die set, there are a bunch of different types of circles, even some little hearts that'll fit in the circles. But what I'm going to do is take the two largest and I'm going to cut them together. And that's going to give me a frame. So I cut them together, I have a frame, and then I also cut just the largest on its own. And that's what you see me working with here. This is the rainy day stencil, and I love this stencil for scene building because as you can see here, there are some little parts of the stencil to make grass and then also clouds, and I'll be using both of those. So I have the Prickly Pear Perfection ink. This is one of my favorites for making bright and happy grass. And I have that scalloped circle underneath my stencil, or the scalloped circle die underneath my stencil rather, and I am just going to blend off the bottom of the stencil to create some grass. Now I'm using different, kinds of pressure. So like up at the top I'm using light pressure, at the bottom I used heavier pressure to create depth and dimension and kind of use one ink pad to get a bunch of different shades of green grass. Now I switched over to Marina Madness ink, and I'm going to blend off the top of the stencil, and this is going to give me those puffy clouds and just create a simple little happy scene. Check that out, it's so easy to do. It took me about 2 minutes. Now here's the frame that I created by cutting those two dies together. I'm going to add some liquid adhesive to the back and then line this up so that all those little scalloped and kind of circle dots line up, and I will just adhere that over the top, and that's going to create a nice little finishing touch as my frame. Now for my background, I wanted to have a little bit more of a happy color pattern, so I grabbed the Farmer's Market 6x6 paper pad, took out that blue checked background as well as the darker blue plaid, and I just cut strips of the dark blue plaid. I'm going to add some tape runner to the back and just create an accent for where I want my scalloped circle to sit. So I'll use my grid mat just to make sure that I get those on straight. I will adhere those down, and then I will stamp a quick sentiment from the Jammin up in that top right hand portion of my scalloped little scene there. And then all that's left to do is just adhere everything together. So I'm going to add some liquid adhesive to the back of my circle scene, add that to the front of my card with my Farmer's Market pattern paper, and this card will be completed. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you love this. I'll see you again soon. Bye.